So guys, so after carbohydrates, proteins and lipids, the next class in our biomolecule chapter is nucleic acids. So without these molecules, actually the importance of the other three are just nothing. Why? Because nucleic acids are the most important macromolecule for the continuity of life. It's these which carry the cell's genetic blueprint and carry instructions for its functioning. Without nucleic acids, there would be no proteins. So let's understand actually which molecules fall under the nucleic acid domain. Mainly two, DNA and RNA. That is deoxyribonucleic acid and ribonucleic acid. DNA is the primary genetic material in all living organisms, ranging from single-celled bacteria to multicellular mammals. It is present in the nucleus of eukaryotes and also in some organelles like chloroplast and mitochondria. In prokaryotes, the DNA is not enclosed in membranous envelope. The total entire genetic content of a cell is its genome. So genome is composed of mainly DNA, and the study of genomes is genomics. In eukaryotic cells, but not in prokaryotes, DNA forms a complex with histone proteins to form chromatin. And these chromatins then coil with each other to form the nucleus-like structure. A chromosome may contain tens of thousands of genes. So what are genes? Many genes contain the information to make protein products, while other genes code for RNA products. Like we code for programs and they are composed of certain instructions to perform a function, right? Like that is the main mechanism of software working. Similarly, our DNA and RNA are the programmable softwares. Using this, the cells make the proteins. They code for every function of life. RNA is mostly involved in protein synthesis. DNA molecules never leave the nucleus, but instead use an intermediary to communicate with the rest of the cell. This intermediary is the messenger RNA or mRNA. So why is this necessary? DNA could also have been directly involved in protein synthesis. This is because DNA is the main storehouse of information. Like we keep a master record for everything, right? So that our information is not lost. For example, you have some data and you store it in a permanent hard disk with lots of storage space, not in some pen drives and then you use it. But when we want to use that information or we want to copy, cut and paste it, we never use the hard drive. We copy it to another place and then we use it or modify it. The master record is always kept preserved. So DNA is our master record. It's always kept safe inside the nucleus of the cell. It instead produces a substitute RNA, which instead does all the functions. So DNA and RNA are comprised of monomers. Now in carbohydrates we learned the monomers are monosaccharides. In lipids we learned the monomers are fatty acids and glycerol. In proteins also, yes, you guessed it right, the monomers are amino acids. In DNA and RNA the monomers are nucleotides. The nucleotides combine with each other to form a polynucleotide DNA or RNA. So each nucleotide is composed of a nitrogenous base, a pentose, what is that? A 5-carbon sugar and a phosphate group. So where other had we seen that a phosphate group has to be added to make a poly structure? Yes, phospholipids. Similarly, a phosphate group has to be attached to the nucleotides to form DNA and RNA. The nitrogenous bases, the important components of nucleotides, are organic molecules. The rest do you know already, a sugar and phosphate group. So here, nitrogenous bases are something new. They contain carbon and nitrogen and they are bases because they contain an amino group that has the potential of binding an extra hydrogen and thus decreasing the hydrogen ion concentration in its environment, making it more basic. So each nucleotide in DNA contains one of four possible bases A, G, C, T, that is adenine, guanine, cytosine and thymine. So now let's come to the fact that what are these nitrogenous bases and what are the structures of the nucleotides. So the nitrogenous bases are mainly of two types, pyrimidines and purines. Pyrimidines have one close structure, cyclic structure. Purines have two close cyclic structures. Among these, adenine, guanine, cytosine and thymine are present in DNA. Remember, thymine is not present in RNA. Instead, uracil is present. So can you point out the difference between these two molecules? One methyl group is extra in thymine, which is removed to form uracil. So this is a structure of the nucleotide. Here you can see that a base is here, that is a nitrogenous base. This can be either purine or pyrimidine. To this is attached a phosphate group and a sugar. The sugar is the bridge actually between the phosphate group and the nitrogenous base. Here it is more clearly shown. It's the 5 carbon of the sugar which joins to the phosphate group. This is the third carbon which joins to the next nucleotide, and this is the base which is attached to the first carbon. So in terms of sugar also, there is a basic example between DNA and RNA. In DNA, we see deoxyribose sugar. So in the second carbon, one O is missing from here. That's why deoxy. So the oxygen is removed. In RNA, ribose sugars are present. Here, the oxygen atom is intact. So we saw two basic examples between DNA and RNA structure. So adenine and guanine are purines, as I said earlier. Purine's primary structure is two carbon nitrogen rings. Cytosine, thymine and uracil are pyrimidines which have a single carbon nitrogen ring as the primary structure. The pentose sugar is deoxyribose in DNA and ribose in RNA. The difference between the sugars is the presence of the hydroxyl group on the ribose's second carbon and hydrogen on the deoxyribose's second carbon. The carbon atoms of sugar molecules are numbered as 1', 2', etc. The phosphate residue attaches to the hydroxyl group of the 5' carbon of one sugar and hydroxyl group of the 3' carbon of the sugar of the next nucleotide, and thus it forms a 5' to 3' phosphodiester linkage. We saw in earlier chapters like carbohydrates and lipids and proteins formed by a simple condensation or dehydration reaction. But in DNA RNA, we see not simple condensation reaction but phosphodiester linkage. This formation involves removing two phosphate groups. A polynucleotide can have thousands of such phosphodiester linkage. So now we come to the structure of the macromolecule. So what is the DNA structure? DNA has a double helix structure. The sugar and the phosphate lie on the outside of the helix, forming the DNA's backbone. Any idea why? Because they are hydrophilic. So they can interact with the outside aqueous environment. The nitrogenous bases are stacked in the interior like a pair of staircases. See these structures? These are the nitrogenous bases which look like actually staircases. Why? Why they are inside? Because they are hydrophobic. Every base pair in the double helix is separated from the next base pair by 0.34 nanometer. The helix's two strands run in opposite directions. This is called antiparallel orientation. So if this strand, if you follow my cursor, this strand if it goes from 5' to 3', this strand will go to 3 to 5'. Only certain types of base pairings are allowed. It's not like that any base can pair with the other. For example, A can pair with T and G can pair with C. Any other combinations are not allowed. This is the base complementary rule. That means like a lock fits only a certain key or a key fits a certain lock. That's how A can only pair with T. Even if there is a mutation, if A pairs with G, what would happen? The structure would be a bit disrupted. That's why DNA mutations are very, very dangerous. And this causes cancer and many other diseases, to which we will come back later. So, if the sequence of one strand is AATTGGCC, first write down what would be the complementary strand. Yes, 2A complementary T, again T, 2A, 2C, and 2G. During DNA replication, each strand copies itself, resulting in a dotted DNA double helix containing one parental DNA and a newly synthesized strand. Now we come to RNA. RNA's main function is process of protein synthesis and regulating it under the direction of DNA. So DNA is the boss, RNA is the intermediate. RNA is usually single-stranded and is comprised of ribonucleotides. These are also linked by phosphodiester bond. A ribonucleotide in the RNA contains ribose sugar, not deoxyribose. One of the four nitrogenous bases, that is A, U, G, and C. Remember, uracil, not thymine. And the phosphate group. There are four major types of RNA: messenger RNA, ribosomal RNA, transfer RNA, and microRNA. So the first mRNA carries the message from DNA, which controls all the cellular activities in a cell. If a cell requires synthesizing a certain protein, the gene for this product turns on and the messenger RNA synthesizes in the nucleus. The RNA base sequence is complementary to DNase. So if the DNA strand has a sequence AATTGCGC, sequence of complementary RNA is UU. So instead of T we have U, and then the rest of it follows. In cytoplasm, mRNA interacts with ribosomes and other cellular machinery. Like we show in this example, this is a ribosome small subunit, this is the upper portion is large subunit. The tRNA helps in bringing the amino acids for the protein synthesis. This is the mRNA, which is the coding strand. It has certain codes. It directs that tRNA should bring which amino acid. Like there are 20 amino acids. So there should be a direction as to maintain the correct protein synthesis. So the mRNA regulates that. But don't worry, let's not get into the complexities right now. I would later on teach you a class in which you would be taught how protein synthesis occurs. So the mRNA is read in sets of three bases known as codons. Each codon codes for a single amino acid. In this way, the mRNA is read and the protein product is made. Ribosomal RNA is the place where mRNA binds. The ribosomal RNA ensures proper alignment of the mRNA and the ribosomes. Ribosomes RNA also has an enzymatic activity and catalyzes peptide bond formation. Like we have seen peptide bond formation in the proteins chapter. So the ribosomal RNA catalyzes that. Transfer RNA is a very small RNA. It carries correct amino acid, the protein synthesis site. MicroRNAs are the smallest RNA and their role basically involves regulating gene expression by interfering with the expression of certain mRNA. Like if a cell wants to stop a certain protein synthesis, it wants the mRNA to switch off, a microRNA comes, binds to the mRNA and stops the synthesis of protein. So even though RNA is single-stranded, it doesn't form a double helix, but most RNA show extensive intramolecular base pairing between complementary sequences, creating a predictable three-dimensional structure. So flow in an organism takes place from DNA to RNA to protein. DNA dictates structure of mRNA, which is called transcription, and RNA dictates protein structure in a process scientists call translation. This is the central dogma of life. This is very, very important For all the genetic students out there, on the molecular biology students, all the cell biology students, this is the word you have to remember throughout the rest of your life. So here we give a chart in which the basic functions and features of DNA and RNA are compared. You can go through this. Location remains in the nucleus, leaves the nucleus. Function I have already told you. Structure double helix, usually single stranded, and the differences in sugar, pyrimidine and pure. So next up, we would have some revision questions on biomolecules and some critical thinking questions. So stay tuned and stay safe.